Hello and welcome to the Rhythm Changes podcast. I'm your host, Will Chernoff, and this episode is sponsored by Pearson Instruments. That's Brad Pearson. He's in the Marpole neighborhood. That's South Van. He's a luthier and guitar tech, and he sets up all my instruments. So I've taken my electric bass, my guitars, and my upright bass stem, and he's done a fabulous job every time. You should take your string instruments to Brad too to get them sounding and feeling great. Learn more about what he does at pearsoninstruments.ca. That's pearsoninstruments.ca. Thanks so much to Brad for supporting this podcast.
I'm the type of person who I would love to be able to edit my own albums. Like, I see no reason why I shouldn't learn Pro Tools, like why I shouldn't just edit them, so that's kind of my personality. Like, if there's something to be learned, I want to learn how to do it.
All right, happy February. I hope those of you who attended Jazz at the Bolt had an awesome time. I want to say a quick thanks to everyone who attended my two recent gigs, one at Tyrant Studios and one at the Vault Cafe in Nanaimo. Had a great time with the trio. This episode is a special one because it's the first time that our guest is a Juno-winning solo artist. She's a celebrated guitarist who is on tour to BC, and we're really lucky to have her in New West. That's up next. Our guest today released her second album, Golden Hour, in 2022 with Will Bonas on piano, Rodney Whitaker on bass, Quincy Davis on drums, and John Gordon on saxophone, plus her own guitar and vocals. It's a ways away right now, but her next local show is on Sunday, May 7th at the Shadbolt. Tickets are available now. She's in the middle of a very extensive tour right now. From when this episode comes out and onward over the next month, she's going to be in the American states of Montana, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Alaska, California, Idaho, Virginia, Maryland, and then on to more after that. But she's here in BC now, and she's generous enough to make time because she's playing in beautiful New Westminster, my hometown. So please welcome to the home studio, Jocelyn Gould.
Thanks so much for having me, Will. This is great.
You are hitting the road hard. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I have been on the road for 2 weeks almost now. I think 12 days, 2 weeks on Monday. So, yeah.
Yeah. So tracing back in my memory, you started in Florida?
That's right.
Or did you start in your home base of Toronto?
Started in Florida. Yeah.
Right.
Started in Tallahassee, Florida. Yeah. And had one epic day where we went from Miami to Vancouver. So that was wild.
That's about as far as you can fly on the continent of North America. Yeah.
Yep. Great routing.
Right.
Yeah.
And what brings you to BC is the International Guitar Night event series that happens in different places. And you're doing that with three other contemporaries, right? Itamar Aras, Stephanie Jones, and Jesus Guerrero, right?
Yes.
So that's why you're playing here at the Massey Theatre in New West for International Guitar Night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole thing, actually, this whole run from January 16th to March 15th, the whole 2 months is this show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of time to feel out like that group of people and what you're going to do, and that's so cool.
Oh yeah. It's a really cool experience, cool like opportunity for me. We do it's unlike anything I've done before. I'm so used to doing things very much within the traditional jazz world, with traditional configurations, the way I kind of learned to do it. So this is a real step for me outside of what I've done in the past. And it's so far, the first 2 weeks have been so inspiring. The four of us in the States, Itamar is doing the Canadian dates, but in the States, a guitarist named Ollie Soy Kelly is...
Wow, okay, so there's different people coming in, because it's a long span of time, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Ollie just couldn't do the
Canadian ones?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So Jesus and Stephanie are on all of them, and you.
Yeah.
The three of you are on all of them doing this whole thing together.
Yeah.
What's it like hanging out with this group of people?
Oh, it's been so fun so far. We're already like family. It's just... being on the road is really cool for when you're on the road for long periods of time. You really become a family. You eat together, you play music together, you cry together. We haven't cried yet, but I know we will by the end of the tour. And it's just, they're phenomenal musicians. It's cool traveling with other people on the same instrument as me, getting to see them play every night. They're just virtuosos of their crafts.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been so much fun. Lots of laughing. Jesus actually doesn't speak English, just Spanish.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we have this app where it like translates voice on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so which way do you deploy? I guess both ways, right? Like when you say something to him, you speak into the app and then it outputs in Spanish, and him vice versa, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's so cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And he says he speaks no English, but actually
there's some understanding there.
totally. He like he's much more fluent in English than I am in Spanish.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Itamar is a known, excellent guitar, piano player, composer in this area. Had you met him before?
No, this was my first time having met him. I've known of him, of course, but it's been incredible. Man, he's amazing. He's so incredible.
Yeah. And if you heard him play piano too, he can play a mean piano as well.
I know. Some folks are so talented.
Yeah. How do you get signed on to something like this? Because this is different than you touring in support of your own album and how that would be organized. And, you release Golden Hour independently and you put out Elegant Traveler on Positone. I work for Greenleaf, another label. So I know kind of how that world works, and I know about self-releasing, I guess, a little bit. But I mean, you've had more dates canceled in your career than I've played in total, probably. But this is a totally different animal. So like, roughly speaking, how did you end up like signing on to this opportunity? What did it look like for you to actually get into this International Guitar Night thing?
Yeah, so this actually goes back to 2019. Like spring of 2019, I was living in New York City, just getting on the scene and really kind of working on my online platform, putting lots of videos out, getting YouTube going, kind of trying to get all that going. And the creator and kind of artistic vision for this project for International Guitar Night just got in touch with me and had seen my stuff online and said, would you like to do the tour? And it was actually supposed to happen I was supposed to be on the 2020 run.
Okay.
Which of course didn't happen.
Didn't happen at all, right?
Didn't happen at all. And then they did the run last year, but I got put on this one, which works out great because I was actually on the road for the whole amount of time last year as well, just with a different project.
Yeah. Last year, so that was, you did your Golden Hour Jazz Fest tour in the summer, right? Is that what it was, kind of thing? Because this is happening right now. What were you doing at this time last year?
I was just embarking on a 7-week tour organized by IMG, which is like one of the world's kind of premier management organizations. It was a tour, a really, really excellent show with 3 vocalists as the kind of featuring 3 vocalists doing the music of Bessie Smith, Billie Holiday, Nina Simone. Cool. So there were these 3 vocalists, Venetia Gould, Tahira Clayton, and Sharnay Wade, and we were talking about, the legacy of these vocalists, how one couldn't have existed without the other, educating audiences about, the challenges that these women would have undertaken and just their importance in music history.
Wow. What a cool project. So you're on there as a guitarist, not a band leader. You're doing a big tour. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm thinking about what else you've done as a session player or guitarist. There's some projects that I can remember because some of them I've reviewed and some of them are just like, I know you played on Katie George's first album, right?
Yeah.
No Bounds. I don't know how many tracks or I can't remember how much did you play on like a couple tracks? Did you play on the whole record? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was a cool one. I had just started as the head of guitar at Humber. Yeah, so I had just moved from New York to Toronto. I was brand new, and this student sent me an email and said, "Hey, I have a school project coming up. Would you play some guitar on it?" Which ended up being Katie, Katie that we know now.
Yeah, and then you also played on John Gordon's album, Stranger Than Fiction, which I love. And you did some wordless vocals on that too, if I remember. And then you did like wordless vocals on Golden Hour too, so that was fun. And there's overlap between those two bands, right? Because you got the Manitoba connections and stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun one. Well, it was actually a strange one. The title is very appropriate.
Yeah, there you go.
It was Deep COVID that we recorded that in October 2020.
Right. Yeah. Because I heard about that in the summer of 2021. Yeah. So you must have had an interesting time. So what do you mean? What happened? How did it come together? What did you do?
Well, none of us had played a gig. None of us had played with other people since February.
So you were like breaking the ice or getting the rust off or whatever you'd say. That's how you felt?
Yeah. And everybody we were all out of shape. It just, you can sit at home and practice as much as you want, but you can't artificially create the experience of playing with other people. That's a whole skill. And so we all felt like really, it felt like it was the first time I was playing with a band, like ever.
Well, it sure doesn't sound like that. You felt out of shape, but it's a pretty high level project. I really enjoyed that one.
Oh, John's writing is just incredible. And yeah, I was really proud to be on that.
Yeah. So what was the actual connection that you had with him from U of M? Like, was he on faculty while you were a student, or is that what it was?
Yeah. I had finished my undergrad a few months before he started as faculty, and I decided to go back for a post-baccalaureate degree before I moved to the US to do my master's. And I basically did that so I could study with John, just because.
Oh, so you knew.
Yeah. I just really wanted to get to learn from him. We did composition together. And yeah, I learned so much. I wrote some of my best tunes to date while I was studying with him. And
would those be Elegant Traveler tracks, or
what
tracks are you thinking?
I wrote Argyle. I wrote In a Daydream. I wrote one on Golden Hour that I brought back. I'm spacing on the name right now. It's the second track on the
Horizons.
Yeah. So I wrote that while I was studying with John. It was kind of a prolific.
And that's one that you sing on too.
Yeah. John actually has been a big kind of supporter of me starting singing more. He really has encouraged it. And
tell me more about that.
Yeah. Well, I grew up singing. As a little kid, I just loved it, sang all the time, and started playing guitar actually just by myself so that I could accompany my singing kind of in my bedroom as a angsty teenage kid. And I stopped singing when I started studying guitar formally. I don't know. I think there might have been like a part of me that was like, well, that's what I do like informally. Or something. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it's driven by this feeling that we all still have to reckon with over the years in general, which is just like, there's so much you want to do, but you're just like so aware of the amount of bandwidth that you have. And so you're like, well, what's the thing that I really need to put the most focus on to get better? Maybe it was something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think also just having, so many close friends who are just like ridiculous vocalists.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were friends with Joanna Majoko, right, at U of M?
Oh, yeah.
So you go way back?
Oh, yeah, we go way back. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So I think it also sort of took me some time just to come out of my shell. I think I was just really shy.
Yeah. And then when you started studying composition with John, then you started to try and write some songs that you planned to sing, and you hadn't done that really since you were singing back in your bedroom?
Yeah, exactly. I think my most natural way of composing is just with my guitar and voice, trying to sing melodies and play guitar, come up with chord progressions that fit the melody. And so I came, the assignment for John was to compose, basically just compose and bring in music, and we'll take a look at it. And so that's how I went about composing. So that's what I brought in. And he was like, oh, he was like, you should do this more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I dig it. Like I really like the Cottage for Sale too. I like the way that I like the way you like you fill behind yourself, or like you call and response with yourself, like on the like it sounds like there's another guitarist and you singing, but like you're doing it yourself. I don't even know if it's overdubbed or live, but it doesn't even matter. Like it just comes across in such a cool way.
Oh,
Was it played
thanks.
live?
It was,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah, it sounds like two people.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's that track I think is one of my favorite on the album. It just is. I don't know. That song is so sad.
Oh.
I've been recently. I got told by someone who is Gen Z musician that I like. What is it? Emo jazz. There's like dad jazz and all these different types of jazz, and I'm
Okay.
emo jazz, and that is like bang on. I love just like sad standards.
Yeah. See, yeah, you got Chet Baker, Billie Holiday, maybe Nina Simone because you mentioned Nina Simone.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Betty Carter.
Yep.
I don't know what else. Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, I dig that too, but for me it came more on the instrumental side. I never had the vocal desire myself as a performer, but like for me my kind of emo jazz is like Bill Frisell and Steve Swallow. Like it's the ECM with the black and white covers.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. That's totally emo jazz. You could have Ambrose, maybe you could classify.
Yeah.
There's I think a lot of trumpet players like Miles, I think could in
Yeah.
a lot of senses be emo jazz.
The album Quiet Kenny,
I was going to say Kenny. I was totally going to say Kenny Dorham.
My Ideal. Yeah. That was a good one.
Yes, exactly. It's a whole subgenre that going back decades.
So wait a second though. You said what's dad jazz then?
A lot of 80s, maybe
Oh,
like
okay,
Mike
yeah.
Stern.
Oh, okay,
know?
yeah. Is Pat Metheny dad jazz?
Yes,
He is.
absolutely,
Okay, yeah.
100%.
Because he's definitely not emo jazz. He sounds very happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would
Mike
say,
Stern is such a good one.
I would say even like a lot of fusion, like Weather Report could be dad jazz.
Yeah. My dad has a Weather Report LP at his place. There you go.
Literally dad jazz.
Yeah.
There you go. There you have it.
Yeah. I didn't come from a musical family. You didn't either, right?
My dad was a elementary band teacher or like music
cool.
teacher.
Okay, yeah.
But he wasn't and my mom is just like, so both my parents played guitar as a hobby. My dad was a piano player, but not a performer. Just he had gone into education. But he really left music at work. He didn't really come home. It wasn't like, like you would think. But my mom, who is actually like, she's like profoundly untalented, but very, very soulful, like one of the most soulful people I know.
Huh.
And so she was always playing guitar and singing. I shouldn't say profoundly untalented. That's so, I feel like you can only say that about your own mom. But she like, didn't have any particular like inherent talent, but just something about playing the guitar and singing. I grew up hearing her do it, like she would sing me to sleep every night kind of thing. And just, it was a really like healing thing for her, I think. So I think I kind of got a lot of that from her.
Okay, yeah, because I'm not giving credit to in some sense because even though there wasn't any of it that was applied to me and like the musical opportunities I got, I kind of enjoyed that it felt like it was my thing and that it didn't come to me through my parents. Like I didn't take piano lessons or violin lessons or anything like that. It came from just where you're going to go play tonight on the night we're recording this, from that theater and that band room up at that high school, right? That's kind of where that's just where I started from a standstill. But my mom did sing and play in folk masses in the Catholic Church as a teenager, like in the early 70s in Maple Ridge, in the suburbs here, and probably at other similar places. Like the young people of that time would sing like the folk songs and stuff at the church. And so she did that a little bit. And then she had like the complete Beatles songbook that she sang out of a little bit. So she definitely definitely introduced me to some stuff that way too, which meant a lot.
That's cool. For me, that's like really, yeah, I didn't know a single professional musician growing up. Like that was not a world that I was
Same, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't, yeah. And I think when you don't know anyone that, plays music professionally, you don't necessarily think of music even in those terms. It's just sort of you're hooked. You're hooked because it makes you feel good, or you're not hooked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I do remember at the high school there, the first time I really like had a lead sheet in front of me and played a jazz tune. It's such a random tune, but I know it's one that is on a milestone album for you, because the first group that I had the chance to jam in my high school band room was guitar, saxophone, trombone, bass, drums. And the tune was picked by the guitarist at the time. And so the first tune that I ever played, it just so happened it wasn't one where you're just starting out playing changes in the 2-feel on the bass, but it started with a guitar bass unison riff, and it was 4 on 6 by Wes Montgomery. Yeah,
I knew it. I knew it as soon as you said it. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, you got started off on the right foot.
And then just listening to like the rest of that album, obviously that's such a big album, so it's a big album for you too. Yeah.
Smoking at the Half Note or Incredible Jazz Guitar?
Smoking at the Half Note, I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good. That's like kind of the holy grail for me.
Yeah. And then like you play Willow Weep for Me on the album, which I love. So.
And I mean, if you've heard the Wes recording, you know that it's basically my
your tribute.
Yeah. I can't unhear the way Wes does it.
Well, it's pretty sweet that you've got Rodney Whitaker playing bass on that one. Like he owns that track too.
Oh yeah, he's
got the intro, he's got the solo. Sounds like Ray Brown.
It's very his willingness to play with me and even to travel. He traveled to Winnipeg for that. He's so busy, and just his generosity means so much to me, and it's important to me. He's such an important mentor and, one of the masters, and it's felt really important to me to get some of it on record. And yeah, he came to Toronto for my upcoming album too. So and we were emailing the other day, and he was like, can't wait for the next one. Huh. So he's been very, very generous, and it's so cool because I can like listen to my favorite Roy Hargrove albums. I can listen to The Art of the Tenor, and then listen to my album, and it's the same bass.
Yeah, it hits. Yeah, it hits heavy. It's really cool. When you went into the Golden Hour cycle at the very beginning, was that the first time you had played together, or had you had chances some different ways before then? Because I know you did your master's in Michigan, right?
Yeah. So he's the director where I did my master's.
Nice.
So I got to know him really well. I did some independent study with him.
Oh, nice.
We did an independent study where he just showed me a bunch of Duke Ellington. We played Duke Ellington, studied some Billy Strayhorn, and I played in his big band, and he was running a lot of, he does an insane amount of projects in Detroit and in Michigan. And so I was in a big band he did that was a tribute to Jerry Allen in Detroit for a couple of years. So yeah, I've gotten to work with him a bunch, but it's always different when they say yes, when you admire someone and they're your mentor.
You ask them?
Yeah. When they're willing to do your thing, it's always really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good one. Yeah. I hope I get to have a couple of those experiences, because I haven't really had the chance to launch into one of those yet. I haven't made that happen. So I'm still kind of searching for like what it means to like have a mentor, right? Like I still kind of need to figure that one out. That's still something that would be coming up for me, because I don't have like an obvious one yet,
If you could be mentored by somebody, who would you pick?
Well, one thing I did probably now almost 10 years ago was when Corey Weeds would bring in certain kind of New York groups at the time, like kind of the Eric Alexander kind of groups, and John Weber would be around, I got bass lesson with John Weber. So that was a big one because I really loved that super straight ahead sound and style, because Corey was very influential and he presents that kind of music here in Vancouver very, very often. So there was a lot of that for me to go to. Like I could go to his club and like he would bring out Russell Malone, like George Coleman, with that connection that he has with like Jody and Tilden and those guys. And, you know, I would get to hear some kind of masters at the Cellar Jazz Club and now at Frankie's. So I was really drawn to like John Weber, and then there's like Neil Miner is another bass player who's kind of in that, I kind of feel is in that kind of style too. But now because I work with Dave Douglas at the Greenleaf thing, there's all those bass players that are in that, like, and they play bass for Bill Frisell too, like Thomas Morgan, Matt Penman, Linda Mahon O. Yeah, like super. I saw Sound Prince like 10 years ago, and I saw that Dave play with Joe Lovano and Linda Mahon O and Lawrence Fields and Joey Barron. That was a big one. So now I'm listening to like bigger ensembles and less super straight ahead stuff than I used to when I was coming up, but it hasn't really come out in my playing yet. That'll be in the years to come, I guess. I'll be able to kind of bring that out, but that's at least what I'm influenced by right now.
Oh, that's incredible. It's in there. It's on its way.
Yeah.
We all feel like that. We all feel like there's something on its way.
Yeah. And the question too of like, you know, there are relationships that you'll have with local people that could be mentors. And then there are people all around the world who are really like those bucket list people that you really want to play with and stuff. So you can have both. And yeah, you go out there and you meet all these people. It's like I was saying before we started recording, I was talking about how I finally got to meet Ernesto Cervini in person after corresponding with him for a few years doing rhythm changes. Get to meet you in person now after hearing about you for several years. Now I just have this list of people that I want to actually meet face to face, right? So Over the last couple of years, I think we've all accumulated some of those people, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, that's great. I hope you get to meet them all.
We'll get back to our conversation with Jocelyn in just a second, but first, I'm inviting you to join our subscriber drive for the Update subscription at rhythmchanges.ca, where I write an exclusive column for the subscribers on Fridays. Be one of the 50 new subscribers that I'm on a mission to welcome into the subscription this year. Go to rhythmchanges.ca/update, and I have a discount for you there. That's rhythmchanges.ca/update to get a discount on the Update. Let's get back to the conversation with Jocelyn. I hope I get to go to New York for the first time too, because I've never been.
Oh, you gotta go. Yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it.
Well, you actually lived there like for a decent chunk of time.
Yeah.
It was kind of when you look back on it, it was kind of in the middle of like two chapters almost, right?
Yeah.
Or like, I guess the educational one and then the Humber, your studies and then your Humber chapter. I don't know. Like, how do you look back on that?
Yeah.
It was in like 2018, 19 or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't expect it to be a short chapter. I thought I was, settling in for the long haul in New York, at least a decade. My thought was sort of like, okay, I'll spend a decade in New York and then maybe I'll, want to get a teaching job somewhere or something. But the Humber position opened up and it was just too, it sometimes things just meander in a way that you don't expect them to. And that was the route I ended up taking. So, but yeah, I think back, in a way, like I'm still in New York all the time and, work there a fair bit, have friends that, so in a way it's sort of like I'm, still there. I can just go like once you've established yourself, made some, friends and developed a community somewhere. I think it's always, it doesn't go away.
Yeah. I'm based in Toronto. That's easy enough to do, right? Once in a while. How often do you find yourself back in Winnipeg then?
Well, I actually have a house in Winnipeg.
Okay, so you got something to return to at any time.
Yeah. So I and an apartment in Toronto. So, I mean, I would love to have a house in Toronto, that's never going to happen. So, and I really want, like, I don't know what it is. I just really want like a house that I can be like, this is mine. I have a garden. I have, just like a place that is like truly, truly my home. So, yeah, it depends. I'm on the road. Over the last 15 months, I've been on the road. Like, literally in 2022, I spent over half my days on the road.
Right, because it's like either you're at Humber, and then in what would be the off season, then you're gonna fill it with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even during the on season, I fly in to Toronto the night before I teach. I teach, and then I fly out to wherever I'm going that weekend to play. So it's like I'm usually taking several flights a week and just like kind of living that life.
Yeah. Is that something that you were drawn to, or is it just like a kind of mundane reality of what you're doing right now? Like, what does it feel like to be a super road warrior?
Yeah, well, there is a saying that, the gig itself is not work. It's getting to the gig that is work.
Yeah.
So travel can be hard. It can be like I'm, really big on exercise and I have a whole thing. But since I've been on the road for the last 2 weeks, I've made it to the hotel gym twice. So some things fall into the fall on the back burner. And that's okay. There's, everything kind of meanders and ebbs and flows as you go. So there's times to be at home and times to be on the road.
Other than not beating oneself up, what should one do to still try and feel decent and alive and conscious and feeling in decent shape while you're on the road if you miss some of your kind of exercise targets? If you're really going for it like you are, where you're going from thing to thing to thing, what are the good habits? What do you do?
Well, I don't drink.
Neither do I. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
But I did when I was in a band.
Right. Fair enough. I used to as well. And I don't know, something about I got a little bit older and I just couldn't do it anymore and feel good and play well. So
that's such a huge one, isn't it? Because it's so readily kind of in your face at almost every venue. Yeah.
So for me, that has been a big change. You don't notice. Well, for me, I didn't notice how even, just like a couple drinks a day, if you're doing it every day on the road, it does for me make a difference. So I've actually been feeling great this tour. I'm just like, wow, I could do this forever. So there's that. I think just trying to, for me, make sure that I take those periods of time to myself. If I need an hour to just decompress, sit alone in my own dressing room and just kind of be alone, make sure I make that happen, because there's so many, you can just be constantly around people and that's great and exciting. But for me, I think making sure I have those moments of alone time is huge. And I think just finding those moments to decompress.
After a show, like maybe not like an earlier theater start, but like after like a club time show, like if you're done at 11 or midnight, are you wired or tired?
It depends. I get pretty affected by adrenaline.
Yeah.
Some people
I'm wired after a show like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually so far have had on this tour, it's been 13 nights so far, I've had one proper night of sleep just because I'm still adjusting to the whole thing. You finish a gig, go back to your room, and you're just wide awake. And we went from, Eastern time zone to here, so the 3-hour difference too. I've been waking up at 5:30 in the morning. I was up at 5:30 this morning. So for me, I'm still figuring that out, but I tend to be pretty wired after gigs.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, because it's like you get into this like activated state where it's like you're activating everything. Like obviously you're playing, so you're using your arms and your hands and your feet and everything. But then it's like you activate your face too, because you're looking at everybody and you're trying to pay attention. And then when you're talking to people, you're like smiling at people and you're being very expressive. And if I need a lot of time to actually cool down after I'm in that particular state. I can't just, even if I haven't got much sleep, I can't just like instantly shut her down after that.
Totally. I was telling someone yesterday, like after these shows, when I get back to the hotel, my face literally hurts from so much smiling.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
It's not bad. How can it be bad? But literally I'm like, oh wow, my cheeks.
I totally identify with that. Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I feel like and again, I haven't ever had the pleasure of hearing you live in person, but I have watched many videos, including like live broadcasts of you playing in different groups at different places. And I perceive that you have like a deliberate and kind of optimized posture of how you sit and play on stage. Is that true, or is it just something I'm making up?
No, that's definitely true. Yeah. I never used to play like that. I used to play, with my leg crossed over my other leg and hunched over, and my guitar, sitting on my knee. And when I started studying with Randy Napoleon,
in Michigan,
yeah, that's how he sits. He sits with impeccable posture. He said, like, it's not only a health thing, because if we want to be playing for a long time, we have to, take care of our bodies, but it's also a sound thing. If you help, there's specific techniques to draw proper sound out of the instrument. There's different ways to hold the instrument that will have the sound resonate out of the sound holes differently.
For a hollow body guitar, yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So the back of the guitar, the back piece of wood, if it's being muted with your body, if it's up against your body, the sound bounces off of it differently. So it's just a personal thing for people, how they hold the guitar.
So does that apply if you're playing like a telly or a Strat, or is this specifically like a hollow body thing?
It's a hollow body thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because so much of the sound is actually created by the acoustics, the actual like acoustics of the instrument.
Yeah. I'm sure there's something to do with that on the upright bass that I've never thought of. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Because usually you kind of brace it against yourself in a certain way. But I wonder if there's some kind of secret there that a certain person like Randy, but an upright player, would have thought of by now. I'm sure like classical bass players have thought of this, but I've never thought of this.
Definitely. Yeah, there must be. I'm sure you could go super down the wormhole of how to hold a classical bass, or how to hold a bass.
But I mean, even not knowing any of that, like I think you can see, it comes across when you play that you're doing something in that respect, that you've thought about that, and that you're presenting. And you, as far as I know, you always sit while you play.
Yeah, which I also never used to do.
Okay.
This was a very specific, conscious thing that I changed. When I started playing an archtop, I didn't play an archtop until I moved to Michigan. That was when I made the switch to, that was when I sort of, before, so that was 2016. So pre-2016, I was really into straight ahead but also doing a lot of other genres, doing kind of gigging around Winnipeg, and then moved to Michigan and said, like, okay, I'm going all the way into straight ahead jazz guitar. So got an archtop, kind of, that was when all that started to develop.
Yeah. Interesting sequence of timelines there, that this big break in how you kind of put together certain technique things. It comes when you go to grad school, and then your recording career really starts in earnest after that, after you figured that out. So, and after you got like the life experience of going to New York and stuff. So that's a cool timeline, the way that all kind of lined up.
Yeah. There's like no recording really there's very little recorded material of like the pre-2016 days. So most people don't know, like I used to play it was a 359, which is like a 339, like this kind of like semi-hollow Gibson, smaller body.
Yeah.
Most people don't know.
What else did you play? What other kinds of music did you play in Winnipeg?
All sorts.
Yeah.
Anything. I played with folk musicians, everything under the sun. I was basically working as like a session musician around town.
Yeah. People say that because of many factors, Winnipeg has like an outsized music scene that has an excellent indie music scene.
Yeah. The roots scene is outstanding. The indie, totally. The singer-songwriter, it's like pretty incredible. That type of music around there.
Yeah. The last place that I flew to and flew home to before COVID was Winnipeg.
Oh, what brought you there?
Festival du Voyageur.
I was thinking about Festival today.
Yeah.
We were on the ferry and I was like, this is so cool that people just ride the ferry and everybody looks like it's just normal. And I'm like, you're on a ferry. This is amazing. And then I was like, what does Winnipeg do that's cool? And Festival is pretty outstanding.
Yeah. Because how many ferry rides have you had? You've had only 2, right? But you went to Victoria to get to the island, and then you came home from the island, or came back to Vancouver from Nanaimo. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I did my jazz festival tour this summer, we took the ferry to Victoria, and I just loved it. I couldn't get enough, so I was so excited. We were in Miami last week, like at Miami Beach, swimming in it looked exactly like there's like car video game that's in Miami. What's it called? Like that famous video game. Well,
Grand
anyway.
Theft Auto?
Yes, exactly. Grand Theft Auto. I've never played it, but my friends were like, oh, this looks exactly, they're like, the buildings are all still, it's like totally preserved. And I was like, yeah, but wait till we take the ferry to Victoria.
Oh, man. My dad is very cute about that. He lives on Galliano Island, which is halfway between Vancouver and Victoria. And every time we take the ferry, he calls it going on a cruise. My grandparents would say the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. See, they know what's up. They don't take it for granted.
Yeah, when you live here, a lot of people do it pretty often. Like there's commuters who do it, Like there's there's the Sunshine Coast as well. I'm not sure how much time you spent up there, but like from Horseshoe Bay, which is where you would have come in from Nanaimo, you can go to another place that is still on the mainland of the continent, but you can access it only really by ferry. And there is, if you go far enough up there, there's a small jazz festival called the Townsite Jazz Festival that happens in Powell River. That's up there. It happens in April, I think. But there's different ferry routes, and there's certain people who commute on the ferry routes, like especially from there. There's people who work full time in Vancouver, and they take like that 30-minute ferry like 5 days a week or something.
I guess it beats sitting in your car in traffic 5 days a week.
Yeah. I mean, that would be like, some of those people would probably be pretty jaded about it. But yeah, I mean, that's something that everybody who lives here, I think, could like get less jaded about it and enjoy the ferry rides a little bit more.
I'm like, wee, this is amazing. I love it.
Yeah. So my former band, we played Festival du Voyageur 2020, and it was the best weather. It was sunny all weekend, and like the snow sculptures were melting and stuff like that. So yeah, we had a great time. And the two kind of band leaders, they, before rhythm section joined them, just like fiddle and singer-songwriter, the two of them drove around Manitoba and did like a home roots tour. And then we all met up and we played Festival du Voyageur, and then I flew home, and that was the last time I flew anywhere.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Festival, yeah. If I could send someone to anything in Winnipeg, it would be that.
Yeah, because we don't have that here. Like we have Festival du Bois, which is, I guess, the equivalent, but it's very small. It's in Coquitlam. It's in the suburbs, and it's kind of at this little park. It's not the massive operation that your festival is. Yeah. So that's fond memories of Winnipeg from that too.
That's so great. I love that for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Go back to Golden Hour. So you put that out independently after you put out Elegant Traveler on Positone. So different experiences. We're not obviously going to be here to evaluate which one was better or worse, but like what was different when you were doing it independently for Golden Hour? I guess in a few ways, because you had the experience of all of the amazing things that came out of Elegant Traveler, right? So you had that behind you and you could work off of that. But like, how was it different putting that album out independently?
Yeah. Well, I'm the type of person who just, if I can do it, I'm like, oh, well, I would like to learn how to do
You'll
that. We
learn
were
how,
talking
yeah.
about
Oh,
Pro
me too.
Tools. Yeah. Like I will learn how to, I would love to, my next step, not this upcoming record, but I would love to be able to edit my own albums. Like I see no reason why I shouldn't learn Pro Tools, like why I shouldn't just edit them, so that's kind of my personality. Like if there's something to be learned, I want to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So, both opportunities, or both experiences rather, were really wonderful. Just different. With the first album, I really felt very guided and supported through it. It was produced by the owner of Positone, so was more of like a collaborative effort in terms of producing. And Golden Hour was just like, if I don't make something happen, it's not happening. Every single, just the responsibility of every single decision falling in your court, everything is on me. So I, had to learn how to get a digital license, just like how do you print CDs, just every little thing. I hadn't necessarily, I mean, I think it's hard to know everything that's involved in self-releasing an album until you do it.
Yeah, because like you said, you didn't put together a recording previously in your career, other than Elegant Traveler, where you had a big partner.
Yeah. So this one, I was just like, I want to try.
Yeah. So we are kindred spirits on the sense of, if there's something to be learned how to do, you want to learn how to do it. But what I'm not is, I'm not a perfectionist. Like, I'm not good at really being meticulous and digging into stuff. I always just kind of want to get stuff done. And so I'm too quick. And it's best if I work with people who have more attention to detail. So which kind are you? Are you more oriented towards meticulousness, or are you more about getting things done efficiently?
Ooh, I think I'm actually, if you can,
it's
be
a spectrum.
both.
You can be in the middle. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sort of depends, and maybe sometimes I allocate time in not ways that don't necessarily represent my values. Like I can like spend forever just like, should this be, especially with visual stuff, I love just like, I don't know, should this be 2 centimeters this way or but I think, yeah, probably in the middle.
So wait, on the 2 centimeters this way or that way thing, which person are you? Are you the one who's like, oh, we need to get this right? Or are you like, oh, I don't care?
I'm the, oh, we need to get this right.
Okay, so we're opposites on this.
Okay.
I need somebody who will do that when I do stuff. I try to identify who the person is who's on my team who's like that, because it's just not in my personality. I'm too quick. Yeah. So
I can be like that with paperwork. Sometimes.
Yeah. That's so funny, because I'm meticulous with numbers and paperwork. Yeah.
Okay, we're opposites in this way.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, there's like a label coordinator. That's like the whole job. That's why I like the job, is because it kind of plays to, I don't know, I just am predisposed to that. The last non-music day gig I had was like as an office manager for a lumber company. So it's like, I don't know, I am meticulous with the numbers, but on artistic stuff, I'm so not meticulous. Like I just gloss over everything and I just want to get stuff done. It's so weird.
Fascinating. That's so fascinating. Yeah, we're direct opposites.
Yeah.
With paperwork, I'm like, I could, I could whatever it is, or I could just click the button that says yes.
Yeah. And then like, what about tour booking? Like you've done different, we were talking about this fascinating tour that you got to do as a guitarist, like at this time last year. And then there's like your Golden Hour tour, and then you supported Elegant Traveler, and now you're doing this international guitar night thing. But when it's your turn, when you're touring as a band leader, is that an independent effort too? Is that where you've learned how to do a lot of this stuff, and you are driving the bus and getting your tour booking done?
Yeah. I've been really lucky in that a lot of things have sort of come to me. Even now, festivals are reaching out, and I'm really kind of lucky in that sense that things have sort of been coming my way. But I'm also definitely like down for, I reach out to, currently not, just because I'm actually like already very booked this year, but I go through periods of booking where there will be a period of time where I'm reaching out and doing emails and booking, getting bookings.
It's probably like the fall a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, often stuff happens in the fall. Like people generally, I'm booking into 2024 now. Sort of like which was surprising to me. I didn't know, because when you book a gig at your local bar for the like next week or whatever. Like,
yeah, and to be clear, you can still do that. It's just you're not doing those kind of gigs.
Yeah. Like I would never have, 10 years ago, I was not booking beyond a few weeks into the future. And now I'm already booked halfway into 2024. I'm already booked for, yeah.
And because you know that you're going to be at Humber, and so you have to make it work with that too, right? So a lot of the options are eliminated. So even if you look really far ahead, there are going to be clear times that are going to be the right times, and so you kind of have to, right?
Yep, definitely. And just the way, the kind of things that the types of venues I'm playing at now, it's often, they're booking their seasons for the whole year, sort of a year in advance. So it's often quite in
and
advance.
Those seasons are usually like also around the academic year. Like they're often like September to May kind of things. So you would be looking into a year from now ish on a lot of those things. And then without like spilling all the details on that, like when somebody does the real Canadian Jazz Fest tour like you did, where you are coordinated through all the festivals and you do that tour, roughly, like just out of curiosity, like when, I kind of know when that starts coming together for them, but like when do you have to get your act together? When does the process start for an artist who intends to do that? At what point in the previous year, if you want to do that?
Yep, August.
Yeah.
So the way it worked out for me, and again, this was a tour that was delayed. I was supposed to do the Elegant Traveler tour in 2020.
And it just became the Golden Hour? Oh, that's great.
It just morphed into and I was really pushing, like I flew up Rodney and Quincy to do Golden Hour in November 2021 because I was like, I need to have a new record.
Because you had another new album for when you were. Oh, that's so great.
That was by design.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's August. You reach out to the festivals, and there's some Canada Council support that you can get. So you have to kind of be organized in advance, because Canada Council can be a 6-month wait, even, or 4 months more like, to hear a response. And based on the funding from arts organizations, certain festivals may or may not be able to support you.
So do you have to have applied? Do you have to have filed your Canada Council stuff before August then, before you start initiating those conversations, or after, or simultaneously maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, that happens early September. So festivals who are interested in booking you will write you a letter of support, and then you'll apply for the funding.
Gotcha. Okay, so August. August, obviously, because then the festivals are done. They've had their programming was in June, July, cool down period in July, debriefing in July. August, ready open season again, right? So in August, you reach out to as many as you intend to do, and you try and get those letters of support, and then you immediately use those in your grant application that's coming up, and it's due in September. And then you find out at the same time, as probably as soon as you find out, that's when the venues are going to move and try and get that done.
Exactly. So like the current Canada Council, I didn't apply this year, but I know tons of folks who did, and they actually haven't heard back. They should be hearing back.
This is from
any day.
People who applied in September 2022.
Mm-hmm.
They would be hearing back. This is maybe kind of late, but they would be hearing back now.
Yeah, and so I think once Canada Council comes out, then the festivals start to make their moves.
Nice. Yeah. One last thing I want to see, whatever you're willing to throw out about this. I know this from another podcast episode that you went on before, that your next project after Golden Hour is a clarinet and 2 guitars and rhythm section project with Virginia McDonald, with Randy, who was your professor at Michigan, and with Rodney and with Quincy Davis, which is the same as on Golden Hour. You performed with them and you recorded that already. So where are you at with that? What's going on?
Yeah, so we recorded it in April. Everybody came to Toronto. So we did the record there. And I am currently just reviewing the mixes. They're almost done. I'm getting a few more people just to listen to them to give their input. And then, so we're almost onto the mastering stage. I'm working with the designer already. I have the name. I have everything ready to go. We're putting together the artwork right now. And the whole concept, EPKs, etc. And I am aiming to announce the album in maybe May, and I'm probably looking at a October release. I really want to kind of experiment with a longer, because as I mentioned, I was rushing. I didn't rush, but my goal with Golden Hour was to have it out by the tour. That was like, have to have it out by the tour. And with this one, I'm like, oh, how cool would it be to take 6 months to sort of experiment, as I'm, something I'm interested in learning about is like a longer release campaign.
And you're putting it out independently at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it is the time of the afternoon, roughly around 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. in the Western Hemisphere. So, Jocelyn, how would you describe that period, that 60-minute period of time in general?
Time for sound check? Is that what you're getting at? Or how
Don't make me say
this
it.
is Golden Hour.
Yes, thank you.
I'm on tour, so I'm like, well, 4 p.m. is sound check. How could it be anything else?
Well, the bottom line is we got to go, but I want to thank you for being so generous with your time and have a great show in my home city here of New Westminster.
Oh, thanks so much, Will. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rhythm Changes podcast. If you enjoyed it, go check out another podcast, Pacific Sound Radio. It's a show that I co-produce with my friend James Olson. In our newest episode available now, James interviews singer-songwriter Kane Price, who kind of sounds like Bon Iver and uses a lot of fun effects on his voice. Go check out their conversation and support another local music podcast. Find Pacific Sound Radio wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next time.